Welcome back everyone. In today's video I'm going to show you how I use the cheapest jig on Amazon to cut really nice dovetails. I should really preface this by saying that I'm not using the cheapest quality jig, but I'm using the cheapest jig that I could find of the best quality on Amazon. This is the General Tools Pro Dovetailer Mark II, and I've used it quite a bit over the last year anytime that I need to do dovetails. And in today's video I'm building some boxes for drawers. For the drawer construction I want to do some half-blind dovetails. So I thought this would be a great opportunity to show you guys how I use this jig. I am not getting paid by General Tools. This is not a sponsored video in any way. This is just a jig that I bought. I bought this jig for $60 on Amazon about 18 months ago. You should be able to pick it up nowadays for about $42, which is a fantastic price for this kind of jig. Okay, so let's do a little tour of this jig. As I said earlier, these two handles, oddly enough, are guide handles in case you want to guide the jig through a router table. And so there are two ways you can use this. What they recommend is cut your tails first. So this is the tail side, and you put your workpiece in here and you cut your tails first. Then you flip around, and then the next thing you do is you go and cut your pins. They give you a depth adjuster here. Most of the time I'm working with 3/4 inch material, and I'll talk about how I set this up for depth. It comes with an Allen key so that you can loosen these nuts here and readjust as necessary. So this bearing bit that you're looking at now is one that I bought. I bought a brand new dovetail bit, but I also doubled up the bearings. If you really are careful, you probably will do just fine with one bearing. Just for adjusting to depth, it does come with one, but you can definitely go on Amazon and buy your own dovetail bit. And I highly recommend having removable bearings on your bits so that if you do blow one out, you could always replace it. Another thing this comes with is a spacer key. Most of the time you probably won't use it. However, if you're cutting longer pieces, you will need it. If I'm cutting a board, in this instance, it's not a long board. So say my board was longer than this section of the jig. So this little key, once it's inserted, helps you keep advancing the jig and maintain your alignment. So here I have my drawer front, which is going to be a longer piece, and my drawer sides. So what I want to do is have the dovetails half blind showing on the sides. So I begin by putting my tail side into my bench vise. So I'm just going to secure it. And then I bring my jig over here. So on the tail cutting part of the jig, you will notice that there is a flange here on the right side, and there's also one on the left side. Those are edge references, so you'll use that to line up your boards when you place them in the jig. You want to make sure you're at the proper height and that your bearings are riding on the jig correctly. You want to make sure the dovetail bit is not going to hit the jig in any way, and that it's at the correct height for cutting your dovetails. Now what I tend to do here is I line up with the left side on this case. Now, so you can see what that looks like here. I've got it lined up against the left edge. There's a flange on this side. So now I have my tails cut. I'm going to mark them A, B, C, D for each respective end. So I've got a couple of surface clamps to secure my workpiece. The next step here is to put the pin side of the jig onto the workpiece, and I'm going to cut this way this time. So once again, I'm going to line up with the left edge. I'm just going to loosely clamp it. So the tails will go in like that, round side going that way. So you want the round side facing out, the flat side facing in, so that you get a perfect alignment. And then we're gonna just tighten it. I don't think there's a jig out there that'll let you just get away with sloppy alignment. If it's even off by a little bit, it doesn't fit together properly. So remember, square end or flat end facing towards you, put it in, make sure the edges line up. If you need to, grab a board and check it. Make sure everything's straight before you get started. Now we should be ready to cut. The other thing I should point out is that here on the scale, you'll see I've set the depth just past 3/4 of an inch. So it's a little deeper than 3/4 of an inch, but that's because I find with this jig, it's off by about a 1/16. At least my jig seems to be off by about a 1/16. So now we've got a pretty decent fit. So the boxes for the drawers are basically done. The drive fits good. I'm going to take these apart again, take a little tiny bit of glue and get these permanently glued up. To be expected when you're doing dovetails with a router, it makes a huge dusty mess. But I'm really happy with the results. For the cost of that jig, I'm going to take these apart, do a little rabbet for the bottom of the drawer, but the boxes are basically done. You get really good results and the setup really isn't that painful. And that concludes using the General Tools Pro Dovetailer Mark II jig to make easy dovetails. So this is the lower price point for this kind of a jig. They go all the way up to $200, $300, even $400 sometimes, depending on the manufacturer and depending on the features that come with the jig. If you want to buy me a beer, head on over to my Patreon page right over here. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. There are a couple more videos on this side you can watch. Until next time, thanks for watching and have a great day.